I am sitting here with my longtime online business manager, Nivek Harrison,
Yay.
and we wanted to do an episode. This was requested by one of our clients, actually, where she was basically like, if you were setting up the relationship from the start right now, how would you do it? And so the way I took that is like context for our clients and for most of you listening, you're running a six figure business, maybe seven figures. And if you were bringing in an OBM right now, like how do you bring that person to set them up inside your business so that you've got a really effective, epic relationship? I feel really excited for this conversation because I know what I would want. And I'm also really curious to know what you would want because we have been like raised by this online industry together.
We've been doing it for that long.
So we have, like, you spoke to this before, like when we were off air, you were like, we have just figured this shit out together.
Yeah.
Like, that's really how we've done most things. And I think that, yeah, it's been a partnership where so much of that figuring it out together, we've like really strengthened our skill set together. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I also think that, yeah, if I like, let's just say tomorrow that you decided you didn't want to do this industry anymore and I was hiring someone new, please
How
don't.
dare
But,
you?
you know, it's like, what would I want to do to bring in someone new? So I'll kick it off and
Yeah,
I'll just
great.
kind of share a little bit about like how I would want to set it up. And then I want to hear from you. So
Perfect.
the first thing that I would be doing is getting crystal clear on that job role. So I'm such a big fan of hire slow, fire
Yeah.
fast. I really believe in that ethos because if a bad egg comes into your business, they can cause some damage if you let them really quickly. What is more important is that, especially if you're hiring an online business manager or like an integrator role,
Mm,
that role is so essential for your business. It's the most important role. If you're multi six and seven figures, as you're getting up to eight, it might change if you bring in people more at the, that integrator may move into more of a CEO role or similar, but like at that point in your business, it's an integral role. I'm mindful to say most important because we have a real ethos
yes.
within Swift Ventures that like our roles and our time are all as equally important as one another. But I would be writing out that job description and myself getting so clear on what I wanted in the same way that if I was manifesting a relationship in this season of my life, I would be getting so clear on what I wanted, very happily married, not manifesting a relationship, but like in the same way. Then what I'd be doing is I'd be bringing that person in and I would be focused and like so, so clear on bringing them in and setting them up in the right way. It's really tricky when you bring in a role like this because you're usually bringing them in because you're in a time deficit.
Mm,
So you may be feeling a little stressed, like a little dysregulated or whatever else, but like the way that you bring someone in sets the tone. And so, where possible, just get in a contractor as like someone who can support you in the interim or like a quick role in the interim if you need that support now, but be really intentional about that longer term role. So, I would be looking at bringing someone in and giving them clear oversight of the goals for the business, where we were headed, company values,
mm,
any like policies or like ways in which we work. Like for anyone coming in now, I'd be really clear on the culture, expectations, and like set the tone for the relationship. I would find out as much as I could about them so I could send them a welcome gift that made them feel really loved. I would want that combination of like, this is the role and this is really what's expected of you. And like, if you don't meet those standards, this is not it for you, so that they knew that there were like high standards to this. And also, hey, you are so loved here. And like if you show up in this role, like you're gonna have a really great like working life and all of those things because it's really important to me that you love this.
yeah.
So I guess that's just like a big kind of quick scene set on what I would do. What do you want from your side
Oh,
as
I
an
love
OBM
this.
coming in?
I love this question. So I think that job description is really important. And I think it's something that is like so often overlooked in the online space when it comes to contractors. And obviously, we want to be really clear. There's obviously significant differences between contractors and employees and all of those sorts of things in terms of how you hire, find them, go through that process. But having any sort of document that just sets those clear expectations for the job and making sure you're sharing that. I'm seeing a lot of
Yes.
people at the moment who are doing that work behind the scenes. and then going through a hiring process and not sharing that with potential team
Wow,
members.
okay.
And then you find out down the road, they're like, oh, yeah, I had a really great job description. I'm like, I would have loved to have seen that earlier. That would have been
Mm,
fantastic. So I think doing that work, if you've got a fantastic coach, utilize them in that process as well, particularly if they've
yes.
hired for the type of role that you're looking for. Create that job description and then use it as part of your hiring process. I think it's also really important. And like, I agree with you. I do think hire slow is the best
Yes.
mentality to have when it comes to a team member. And so often we can be so reactive by the time we're thinking about bringing someone in. And it's almost going, okay, well, the world's not going to burn if I don't hire this role tomorrow. I
Yes.
will continue to survive. I've survived until this point. So I can
Yes.
take some time and speak to a few different people.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to genuinely test the waters. I think it's really normal. And I hear this a lot, obviously, on the agency side of things of like, oh, I really want to work with you. And I'm like, fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that. And also, I want you to do your due diligence and make sure it's a good fit, especially for an OBM integrator, COO style role. It's more than just, it's more than just my CV on paper and my skills. The reason this works is because the relationship we have a lot of shared values, and we knew that from the start.
Yes. Yes, that's very true. Yeah, when it's so hard for us to compare the relationship as it is now to when I hired you
Yeah.
7 years ago, because I would still hire you,
Yeah.
but I would hire you very differently
Right.
now because the business is so different now.
Correct.
So, I said this at the start of the episode, but like we really grew up in this business together in our own respective businesses. You and your agency,
Yeah.
me and Swift Ventures. Your role has shifted over time in Swift Ventures. The expectation was definitely there. Like, did you feel that when you
Yeah.
came in? Like there was a real like I remember you saying to me, I was like, "We're launching a mastermind in 2 weeks. Like, have you ever done a mastermind?" And you were like, "Never, but I'm a really fast learner, and
Yeah.
I'm, like, here with you on this."
And I
Like,
think they're the sorts of things you want to be really clear on when you're hiring. Like, what are
yeah.
the non negotiables? What are the skills or the experience that you need your team to have?
Yes.
What are the things that you're willing to maybe figure out together to teach, to upskill over time? Because,
Yes.
like, I genuinely stand by it for anybody who is listening who is in a service based role. Be really honest with your potential clients,
Yes.
because it comes out when you're not.
Totally.
I had never supported a mastermind at that point. I
Yes.
had supported launches. I knew the online business space very well, but it never a mastermind. And the fact that like you were like, cool, neither have I. We're figuring this out together
Yeah.
is one of the things that made it feel really safe for me to come into this team,
Yes.
knowing that like there wasn't this level of like you have to be perfect and know
No.
everything.
Mhm.
There's this level of I expect certain things.
Yeah.
Particularly when it comes to like communication skills, like very
Yes.
fundamental things, regardless of the role in the team. Like that's universal across the business.
Yes.
But everything else, we're going to figure this out.
Totally. It's like, this is the role, this is and I hired you when, like, just for context, the business would have been making maybe 200K
Yeah.
ish at the time in a year. It now does close to, like, sometimes over, sometimes just under that 7-figure mark,
Yeah.
depending on where I'm at in baby making season of life
Yes.
right now. It has been for the last couple of years. Like, to go from, a lower multi six to a 7-figure business, there's a lot that we've changed and evolved over
Yeah.
time. And so the expectation level was slightly different at that point.
Yeah.
I also would say, like, 7 years ago, what was required to build a just
Mm,
multi six-figure business was different then. It was easier
yeah,
7 years ago.
it
It was
was.
easier. And I always want to be really transparent around that. Could I go back and do it now? Absolutely. Like, I know you
Yeah.
could too. And also, it just looked different. And so, what that means is we knew less.
Yep.
We really knew less then, both in terms of our skill and also because the online space just wasn't as evolved. Like, it's
Yeah.
a fast moving industry. So, yeah, there's just so many things I would do differently now. But the fundamentals
The same.
of relationships, values, like that, communications expectation.
That's huge.
I think that you and I had so many things in that first year where we were like, this is just the level of expectation of communication together
Yeah.
from one another. Like, you're always going to have that. Yeah. Is there anything else around that process that you would want? Like, what does it look like when you're being integrated into a business? What do you want to see?
I want to see a lot, right? Like the reality of being in an OBM role is that I need a lot of information about the business to do my job well. So, like, to a certain extent, you can kind of overload an OBM in a way. I would never recommend overloading a VA or somebody in a more project based role. I would be like, be specific, give them exactly what they need to do the job. Your OBM needs access to tools and information. And so, the more you can share in those early stages, and often practically what this looks like when I'm starting with a client will look like there's usually some sort of master Google Doc or Google Drive that has a lot of information, all of the things you shared, company values, expectations, timelines, the tools we use, all of those sorts of things, the offers we have, our clients, like all of that information is so, so useful. And then you get into the more nitty gritty things of like, well, here's our SOPs of how we do things, how we've done things in the past. Here's the tools. Here's where everything's saved, all of that. The quicker you can give that to your team, the quicker they're going to be able to actually move on things.
Yes. And what about from an energy perspective? Like, what do you, like, how are you wanting to feel
Oh, this is
when
fun.
you come into, you're hilarious. Oh, this is fun.
This is
Okay,
fun. Yeah,
how am I going
energy.
to
All right, let's
answer?
do it.
Yeah, how do you want to feel like those first few weeks in if you're starting with someone new? Like, what is it, if you're saying to Drew at the end of the day, this is a good role, I'm excited about this. Like, how have they made you feel? What's the level of integration that you're feeling?
It's a lot of communication. It's that first week is at least one Zoom call and we are on Slack. Like I think about all of my clients that I've started with over the last couple of years, like we are talking a lot, particularly in those first few weeks. Because naturally, there's a lot of questions from my side. There's a lot of questions from their side of like, can you do this? Is it okay if I give you this thing? What would this look like? The business is still running. It's not like business stops because we've onboarded a team member. So you're in this sort of dual capacity of like, I need to learn what happens in the business. And also there's things that
You
need to be
need to
solved
implement
right now.
now.
And so I think sometimes coming in, like I love when clients will bring me on board and they're like, cool, I've got these specific problems or these specific projects that I need worked on, I need solved, I need done. Great, give me a quick win. I love to be able to give a client a quick win. I think that helps feel like you've gotten somewhere very, very quickly. But I also I want to feel the energy. I want to feel the enjoyment. I don't want this to feel like this is a burden. This is so much work on me bringing in a team member. Like that's
Yes.
just not going to set
The tone.
the tone for the rest of the
You
relationship.
want to
Like it
feel
should feel fun.
welcomed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think something I know about you that probably most people don't is you are so professional. And as you said in like another conversation that we've had here, you're so good at being like, I know what's business and what's personal, and I'm going to get in and get the job done. And also, I know you thrive when you're appreciated. And I think that's true for most people.
100%.
But I think that you just spoke to that in a slightly different way. And I almost wanted to like call out those words. Like, your people are going to thrive when they're appreciated.
Yeah.
So, are you appreciating them?
Exactly. I think it's, if I think about even like when we bring team members into our team, I want them to feel really, really seen in that first week. I want them to feel like we are seeing them in their job and we're seeing them as a human. We're getting to know who's in their world. What are their pets' names? What are they like?
Totally.
We actually have a template. We have a templated task in Asana when we onboard team
Yes.
members into Swift Ventures with a list of questions we ask, and it includes some of those things.
Pets, kids, favorite
Flowers. I
flower.
think we ask favorite crystal. Like we
Yeah.
ask lots of just little
Give us the
things.
gift ideas.
Correct. Because it means that down the road, even if we don't use that information instantly, and we do this with clients as well.
Yes.
If we don't use this information instantly, at some point we can love on them the exact way they want to be loved on. And so
Yes.
I'll often talk about this in onboarding with clients of like, what's your communication style? What is your love language? What makes you feel seen and supported? Because I also want my clients to feel that way as much as I want it as well.
Yes. And it's that whole thing of like, give what you want back.
Yeah.
And this is role agnostic, really. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you're coming into the business or you're hiring for it. Like, if you demonstrate that you're asking your client what their love language is, like
Yeah.
if you're asking that, they're gonna know, oh, what's yours?
Yeah.
Like that it's gonna be very reciprocal.
100%. I think like there's so much of this work that is relational, right? At the end of the day, there's skills and there's jobs and there's tasks to be done, and the success. And I mean, I think for everybody who's in our world, they certainly know like the reason this works so well isn't because of my ability to do my job. It's because of our relationship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think same.
Yeah.
It's true. And I think that I hope that in these conversations we communicate that it's very intentional
Yeah.
and that it's something that we're working on all the time. I think about my relationship with you, like I think about my marriage.
love that.
Well, it's a relationship that is of integral importance to
Yeah.
me in, the same way that my marriage is, my relationship with my mom is, my daughter,
Yeah.
it's always like, how can I show up to prioritize this relationship, ensure that it's mutually beneficial, and it's just the parameters and boundaries of a relationship change depending on what the relationship
Yeah.
is. But if you give intention to a relationship, then that is felt from both sides.
And I want to be really clear, like I don't want people to think that it's been perfect since day one.
No.
Because like I remember a season, and it was very early on, it possibly was even in year one, where you were very, very clear with me of like, hey, this isn't working in this current format. Can we talk about this? Can we change it? Like, I need more in these specific ways. And that
Thank
is
you
like,
for raising that. I
yeah,
think that's such a good thing to bring
like
online.
it's relationships in business, relationships anywhere are hard.
Yep.
Like, they're not perfect. Sometimes you get so lucky and you find a great person who you gel with from day one.
Yes.
And
And
also,
also,
there's seasons where it just doesn't go right for whatever
yep.
reason. There are things that happen. Our expectations change, our availability changes, our role evolves. Often, roles evolve without us really thinking about it. It's just the natural growth of the business. And so recognizing that there are going to be seasons where there's difficult conversations required. And because we have built that relationship with very mutual trust and respect, we can have those conversations without it being like a heated emotional thing.
100%. And you're right. Like that was so early on. I think it was like early days around like
Yeah.
communications and just like expectation on communications. Such a different, God, it feels like lifetimes ago.
Right? Different world.
Um, and also, I think we have had like, we would have multiple difficult conversations a year.
Yeah.
I just can't recall them now truly because it's just part of it. In the
They
same
don't feel like
way,
difficult conversations at this
no,
stage because they're just
exactly.
conversations that we have as part of the business.
Exactly, and we're both, like, adult enough to have them in the same way that I have difficult conversations with my husband,
Right?
but I can't necessarily really recall most of them,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I love that you spoke to that because it's like, there's no, like, unicorn relationship here. This is a, like, worked on relationship that involves a lot of prioritizing the business, prioritizing one another, prioritizing our roles, prioritizing hard conversations, and again and again and again and again, in my life, everything that is important to me, I work on. I work every day on my parenting. I work every day on my marriage. I work every day on my relationships. I work every day on, my relationships in my business. I work every day on supporting my clients. Like all of my relationships are things I work on every single
Yeah.
day. And that is the only reason why they work. And I'm so sick of the narrative that if you want to have a successful relationship, it's like it's a unicorn or it's not. That is fucking bullshit and
Yeah.
just not the story. You've got to prioritize your relationships and really work on them
100%. And I think, we look over 7 years, our lives outside of the business have changed so much in
so
7 years as
much.
well. We went through
Marriage, kids.
marriage, kids, pandemic,
Yep.
moving houses. Like, we've done so much outside of work that has changed who we are as people as well.
Yes.
So naturally, how we show up, how we each lead has evolved. And sometimes that requires a difficult conversation to reset. Like, we've had conversations over time where you've been like, I actually don't feel like I'm being a great leader in this season. Like, you are incredibly self-aware, and I love that about you, working with you, because you are like, actually, I know I'm not showing up for you right now in the ways that I need to. And I think, like, I know the premise of this episode is like, what would you do if you were starting over? But like, knowing that this is the end goal, you have to set that foundation literally from day one, and probably even pre-day one when you're trying to hire someone. Like, this is who you're looking for. You're looking for somebody you can have really open, honest, transparent conversations with, because it's going to be required.
So that involves questions, right? Like
Yeah.
asking questions where you're going to be able to get great answers. So, what's like a really good question that you would ask that's going to help you see someone's leadership potential?
I like, in our application form when people want to come into the agency, I ask a really specific question of like, have you had support before?
Mm,
What worked well and what didn't? And I find that question always surfaces some really interesting information to then have a conversation about when I get onto a call with somebody who does want to
yes.
work with us, because they've got some insights into what worked for them. And it's not about like, oh, this other person was terrible at their job. That's never the lens. The lens
But
is
if they're
always
sharing that, that says a hell of a lot about them.
correct. That also gives me a moment of like, oh, Okay.
Yep. I'll never hire the client who's ragging on other coaches, for
Right.
example. Yeah.
And that's not to say like everything's perfect and we have to hide it, but like you also don't need to surface names and confidential information,
Yeah.
right? But you can tell me I, as a leader in this season, wasn't ready for that level of support. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay, let's unpack this. What does it look like? I didn't like the way they communicated it. Okay, was that a platform issue? Was that a
Yes.
communication style issue? Like it gives me something to talk to about
Yes.
like what's worked. And then like from the flip side, some of the best questions clients will ask me about like what does make relationships like this work really well. What am I looking for in a client? And I think that's really important. Like
Yes.
ask some difficult questions in your application, in your interview process, so that you can see like, is this somebody who can evolve, can grow, can take feedback, can
Yes.
maybe handle criticism because it's probably going to
Totally.
happen at
From
some
both
point.
sides.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
It's true. And I think if I were to like wrap up this episode on any note, the thing I would say is like take away the piece around relationships and establishing a relationship and working on it from the start and setting the tone around that. And also remembering, because I say this far too often, that our relationships, number one, relationships are the hardest part of life.
Yeah.
Like they truly are. And I think if you know that, it's going to support you so much. And number two, our relationships are a reflection of us.
Yeah.
And so, usually, when there's a challenge in our relationships, it's something that we are being called to do differently.
Mm,
We need to, go higher on something, or there might be something that we need to do differently. I see all too often how easy it is to make team and coaches the scapegoat.
yeah.
And I think that, again, when I look at our clients, they're so phenomenal at this. Like I think about how our clients come into Slack and they're like, this is happening. I'm trying to work out what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I just love that. And I think like be like our clients,
Be like our clients.
recognize that when there's challenges, start with yourself
Yeah.
first. Whenever standards have slipped in the business, it's always because of me.
Mm,
It's because I'm not holding the standard at that time.
yeah.
I'm not setting the standard. I'm not being the standard. Start with yourself first and then look outwards.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, it's always us, but also if you're the founder, it's always you.
It's
Like it's
always
always
you.
your responsibility.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't mean that if like you're not showing up around something that it's my problem to fix it. It's not the over responsibility thing. It's more, it's my problem to call it and go, hey, like you usually do this thing. It's just not been like we've had conversations before. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? Like this
Yeah.
is a bit sloppy right now. And you'll be like, I'm really sorry. This is exactly why. And this is what I'm going to do about it. And
Correct.
I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks.
And I think that's the key, right? And that's also like it's such a good thing to look for when you're hiring somebody, when you're bringing somebody into the business. How do they approach a problem?
Yes.
Because we, particularly at an OBM and integrator role, you need somebody who is solution focused in every way.
100%.
So they need to be somebody who is very comfortable figuring it out, putting an option on the table, rather than somebody who is looking to create excuses, assign
Yes.
blame, shift responsibility. And so I think like again, like that hiring process, that onboarding process, all of that is really going to set the tone for the relationship you have moving forward.
I love that so much. Thank you for having this conversation. I just think it's going to help so many people if they are bringing in an OBM to their business when they're in that multi six figure stage already.
I loved it. Thank you.
So good.